Multilingualism in India. Do you know the origin of Indian multilingualism? It can be traced to the ancient times when various ethnic groups and multiple races came in contact with one another when they migrated and traveled from one region to another. According to the 1971 census, India is said to have more than 1600 mother tongues that genetically belong to 5 different language families. These are further divided into 200 odd mother tongues and categorized under 114 languages by the 1991 census. The division can be classified as Austroasiatic, Dravidian, Indo-European, Semito-Hermetic and Tibeto-Burman. However, many of the languages could not be classified based on their genetic links and they are considered to be unclassified languages. The most spoken languages in India belong to the Indo-Aryan sect, followed by the Dravidian, Austroasiatic and Sino-Tibetan languages in descending order. The joint existence of multiple languages, cultures, races and religions have been the gist of the Indian heritage. On the contrary, uniformity and consistency of language is considered significant for the economic development. The concerns of the Indian languages have been changing frequently since the post-independence period. The mindsets of the people have changed over the years and they consider the ability to speak multiple languages or being a multilinguist an asset and value it as a resource. They use this language knowledge in a social and economic development. The concept of multilingualism is exclusive in many ways. Language shift, linguistic pluralism and bilingualism. The literary history of India has a very interesting mix of similar languages and which have an easy switch over ability. The languages such as Pali and Sanskrit, Tamil and Sanskrit etc. have similar scripts that can be easily understood. Pali language. In the ancient Mughal period, many scholars had learnt Sanskrit and Arabic or Persian with ease. There were many poets from both regions of India such as Apabrahmasa from the north and Nayanmars and Alvars from the southern region of India. The ancient writers have even used languages such as Magadhi, Sauseni and Prakriti instead of Sanskrit also. The Indian heritage is very rich in terms of the ethnicity, religions and its languages. India is credited to have a very high measure of multilingualism. Bilingualism was very common among most educated and partially literate people as a result of migration. It is commonly observed that in people that they speak a language of the neighboring state other than their mother tongue. For example, although the dominant language in Andhra Pradesh is Telugu, a significant population speak Kannada also and the vice versa is also noticed and a very high population of Telugu speakers are found in the other Indian states too. Bilingualism has another special feature of being complementary such as an individual might have a mother tongue which is apparently different from the language he or she speaks in the public, in the markets or in the school or official places. Not necessarily the mother tongue should be the same as one's regional language. Interestingly, linguistic pluralism is also another common phenomenon we can notice in the Indian societies. The people of India hence believe that the diversity in the language supports their ideology of secularism and promotes a mixed culture. It is also observed that when people are multilingualistic, the influence of a dominant language they know seem to impact the other languages they speak. To understand the shift in language and linguistic pluralism in India, we shall now perform an exercise. Take a piece of paper and list out the different languages that you have heard and spoken in your residential apartment or community. Compare this list with that of your immediate partner, the person sitting next to you. Now, merge the two lists and make a master list. This will give you a good example of the linguistic pluralism in India. You can also count the number of families whom you know speak the language. For example, if you live in Hyderabad, you probably would meet maximum number of Telugu speakers. If you know 10 families in your apartment street who speak Telugu, then write that down. Similarly, list the number of families who speak Hindi, Tamil, Kannada, Oriya, English, etc. For this list, you will be able to identify the primary language, the bilingual language and the other languages. Compare with your classmates and comment on the study results. Is your result similar to that of your classmates? Try and make a master list of different family or community clusters and the different languages which are spoken. This will clearly help you understand the shift in pattern of language speak in India. Complementary nature of bilingualism. In the previous paragraph, we had just seen a brief introduction on the complementary nature of bilingualism. According to researchers, being bilingual brings in more advantages in the market and it has a beneficial effect on one's brain, develop cognitive skills that are not related to language. It is also considered to protect the brain from dementia as a person ages. So, how many languages do you know? Have you wondered how the knowledge of more languages improve the capacity of the brain? As we have seen, knowing 2 languages is good. What about knowing 3 or more than 3 languages? However, this concept is not a usual sight in India, that someone speaks 2 dialects of the same language to one parent and one language with their mother, regional and English with their wife and children. For this purpose, the Indian census asked respondents for their primary, secondary and tertiary languages. It is observed in surveys that about 20% of Indians are multilingual. This can also be attributed to parents from different ethnicities or the frequent official transfers of parents from one state to another during their official service period. Another important feature of the bilingualism prevalent in India is that it is complementary by nature. For example, a person may use a specific language or the mother tongue to converse with people at home. He may use a different language with the neighbors, another one at the market and probably English or some other formal language in his workplace or in his educational setup. In recent times, it is observed that even educational institutions and parents encourage their children to learn a language other than English and their mother tongue, as they believe this will be advantageous to them in the long run. In general, any individual would be well versed with the mother tongue or the home language and consider the state language. However, in India, Hindi is considered as the national language, hence knowing English and Hindi along with their mother tongue and the state regional language is an added advantage for people. According to surveys, it is identified that most people in India speak predominantly Hindi and its dialects. Although in many parts of the world being multilingualistic is something uncommon, Indians are blessed with a rich combination of various cultures and multiple ethnicities that encourage them to learn new languages. This is considered an implicit part of the Indian culture. Most Indian families have an ambivalent attitude towards English. However, these days English is no longer considered a foreign language and most parents want their children to learn English than the mother tongue. To understand how the bilingualism is common and complementary in India, the following practical work can be done. It is suggested that you make a list of 10 words that you think is used in 2 different languages that you speak. For example, the word Amma is used to denote the mother in both Malayalam and Tamil. The word Maligutanian, English word, whose origin in the Tamil word Maligutani. After you make a comprehensive list, go online and find out if the word has a similar expression in other languages also. For example, the word bazaar is acceptable in English, Hindi, Telugu and Tamil. Such an exercise will help you understand how Indian languages often complement each other. Official language policies. In any country, it is generally observed that every state identifies one state language for official aims, and this is contrary to the concept of the multilingual feature of the Indian states. Also, most of the states have been open to more than one language to satisfy official purposes and to meet the aims of the linguistic minorities. However, the usage of minority languages is usually limited to a specific district or a region in the state. There are numerous rules and policies to protect the rights of minorities and the languages within the Constitution of India. The Constitution also has facilitated provisions for the usage of minority languages at the district level, such as local municipalities, tehsils, etc., in which the linguistic minorities comprises 20% of the total district population. According to the government rules, notices and other publications to the public should be printed in the minority languages only. Consider an example of any public notice that came to your house or to your observation. What language does it get published in? For example, in Andhra Pradesh, although Telugu is the official language, the Department of State Translation has 6 languages such as Urdu, Hindi, Marathi, Telugu, Kannada and Tamil. Most notices, acts, rules and laws are published in all the 6 languages present. In short, the policies concerning to the language in the Indian states protect and preserve the basic rights of the linguistic minority. To understand the official languages which are accepted in your state, take a trip to your closest post office or bank or electricity board or IT office. If you are going to the post office, then request for a money order form in the state's main official language. For example, if you live in Andhra Pradesh, then request for the form in Telugu. Following this, request them for the list of languages in which the form is available, like Hindi, Tamil, Kannada, Oriya, English, Sanskrit, etc. Make sure that you note down all the languages in which the forms are available. Make a list of the different government organizations and the various accepted languages. This will help you understand the list of the officially accepted main languages in your state. However, it is significant and necessary for the minorities to acquire the dominant state language for their career, social and future benefits. On the other hand, both the schools and the parents of minor communities tend to thrust and narrow the choices of languages to only English, Sanskrit, French or Hindi instead of promoting the state's dominant language. To understand how the dominant language is ignored in today's educational curriculum, a small practical exercise can be carried out. Make a list of your first, second and third languages during your schooling. Also write down the state in which you completed your school. Form groups of 5 and make a master list to find out how many of you have actually learnt the dominant language of your state. Through this section, you have understood how there are specific official policies which govern the use of languages in different states. The section has also identified how there are conditions wherein the dominant language of the state is not studied due to the need to look beyond the horizon of the state. Mother tongue. Mother tongue has always been considered the initial or the first language that a child has learnt right from the birth. Mother tongue had always been a concept that we all take for granted and seem to grasp its importance. It is an integral part within the Constitution of India, and multiple important benefits within the Constitution are based on this concept. The final decisions regarding the instruction medium and policies that are based on the official language revolve around the interpretation of this concept. Above all, this mother tongue paves a pathway to a dominant political idea than a language based concept. Mother tongues are considered very sacred, holy, and are elevated to heights of superhumanism and divine status. Mother tongues can be used a common point for different groups of people to be united and express their unanimity as a political entity. To start off with, a language policy statement in a multilingual backdrop is to be: what constitutes the mother tongue? The answer to this question can be seen in the Provincial Education Minister's Resolution of 1949. According to the government, mother tongue will be considered as a language as declared by the parent or the guardian of the respective child. As of now, there have been no clear conditions or demarcations as to what a mother tongue should consist of and can be applied to widespread concepts. We will now understand about some features or facts about mother tongue that will demonstrate the difficulties in determining the mother tongue. On the other hand, what if the children are dumb or mentally challenged? In this case, the language that a mother speaks is to be considered as their mother tongue. In case of further speculations and queries, the language predominantly used in the household is considered the mother tongue. This census of 1991 targets more on the language used by people in their early years of childhood and considered it as the mother tongue. It also foresees a possibility that members of the same family could have several mother tongues based on their races, groups and their natives. There are other possibilities such as both the husband and the wife of a family may belong to different ethnicities, religions or cultures, or both of them could have identical ethnicities. In such cases, the survivor will take into every individual's mother tongue to assure consistency. However, there have been numerous controversies on what basis is the mother tongue determined. There have been recent petitions that the mother tongue of a child is determined by the language that a child is most familiar with, and it need not be either of the parent's tongue. It is generally observed that the parents or the close caregivers are the most appropriate persons to identify the language that a child is most familiar with. To understand the differences in the role of mother tongue, the following experiments are proposed. Take a piece of paper and draw a genealogical chart. Trace the language of your mother, father, your maternal and paternal grandparents and their grandparents. See if your parents or other elders in the family can give you some input on this regard. This chart will show how the mother tongue has evolved over the years. Try and compare your results with that of others to arrive at a clear conclusion. Minority languages in India. The importance of minority languages in India can be related to the previous subtopic on the role of official language policies. We have seen that the current constitutional provisions have helped in the maintenance of the minority languages in the country. However, this is not very pertinent to regionalized languages. Over the last few years, it has been reported that there is a large change with respect to the role of minority languages in the country, especially those which are taught as part of any educational curriculum. There is not a single state which promotes the role of minority language as a primary medium of instruction in schools. The language is often taught as a separate subject and not as a medium of instruction or a first language. There have been researches published by NCERT to understand how this is perceived by the minority communities. For example, consider the case of Delhi. The languages which are taught as first language include English, Hindi, Urdu, Bengali, Tamil and Gujarati as per the third educational survey. However, in the sixth educational survey, it was clearly observed that only English, Hindi and Gujarati were taught. Other first language institutions had changed their approach. From this, we can understand that though there are several minority languages in Delhi with substantial populations, it is clear that these populations rarely have their first language support within the school system. The situation in the other states is not encouraging either. Let us look into the reason behind such a change. Who is to be blamed for all this? Is it the school authorities who decided to change the medium of instruction, or is it the government who would like to promote uniform promotion of languages across India? The research in this subject clearly shows that there is no specific role played by the institutions and that the attitude of the people is the main reason for this factor. The attitude of the speaker is found largely to impact this process. The surveys clearly indicate that most speakers prefer English over their own language. When questioned, most individuals indicate that they want to move to other states and other countries. For this purpose, they try to learn English and Hindi over any other languages. To understand how minority languages are being ignored by us, let us do the following example. Look around you and note down 15 different objects that you see. Form groups of 4 and make a master list. You may be able to make up a unique list of about 30 different items. Now, try and write its literal translation in your mother tongue and any other local language you know. Were you able to get all the items? Compare with your teammates and then discuss in light of the above views. In states like Arunachal Pradesh, Goa, Jammu and Kashmir, Meghalaya, Nagaland and Sikkim, the main language that is used as a medium of instruction is Hindi and English. The mother tongue is used in less than 50% of the schools in states like Goa. It is observed that the mother tongue is used as a primary mode of instruction only in 14% of schools. It is even worse in states like Sikkim, where there is only 15% of education in the minority language. Let us come to the conclusion. The aim of this topic for us was to get a better understanding of the importance of multilingualism in India through the use of a multitude of different exercises in the classroom. It is clearly seen that India has a wide bilingualistic cultural which has helped in the growth and development of a linguistic shift across the country. It is also seen that there is a variation in the definition of the mother tongue. From this topic, we also understand that complementary languages are found to be a part of bilingualism. From the exercises carried out, we should be able to answer the question, does it mean that these minorities languages are dying out? So far, literature has shown that the speakers of minority languages have arrived at the conclusion that the maintenance of language and their ethnic identity does not depend on the teaching of their language as the primary mode of instruction. However, if children do not learn to read and write their primary language, Would they be able to sustain the language for generations? Can languages survive such trends? Unfortunately, we will be unable to answer these questions now. Time will tell us what languages managed to survive and what did not. Not certainly, or perhaps to some extent. It appears that the speakers of minority languages seem to have arrived at the conclusion that for maintaining their language and ethnic identity, it is not necessary for them to use their language as a medium of instruction or to learn it as first language in the school system. Time alone will tell us whether such an attitude is going to help them maintain their languages in the long run. Thank you.